If you're a wrestling fan, you've probably heard a few scandalous rumors about WWE. And then, out of nowhere, it's like they vanish into thin air. No one talks about them anymore. That's because Vince McMahon has worked tirelessly to keep many of these details buried. Before we continue the video, we would like to ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your understanding. But as they say, the truth always finds a way to surface. This time, it's found its way here, and we're going to dive deep into the controversies and hidden secrets of WWE. If you thought we'd ease you into these revelations, think again. We're starting off with one of the most scandalous stories, the firing of Dawn Marie under controversial circumstances. For fans of WWE divas in the early 2000s, Dawn Marie was a standout name. She burst onto the wrestling scene in 2001 and quickly became one of the company's rising stars. Alongside icons like Tori Wilson, Nydia, and Sable, she helped define the era of female wrestling, which was often hypersexualized with bikini contests and holiday-themed events. However, just as Dawn Marie's career seemed to be at its peak, she was abruptly fired by WWE. The final straw? Her pregnancy. In 2005, Dawn Marie became pregnant, and rather than supporting her or finding creative ways to keep her involved, WWE reduced her on-screen time and ultimately terminated her contract. According to Dawn Marie, the company didn't see a pregnant woman as marketable, and she was let go simply because she no longer fit the image they wanted. The firing was met with widespread criticism backstage. Many wrestlers, aware of Dawn Marie's kindness and dedication, privately protested the decision. However, no one publicly spoke out, fearing retaliation in an industry where WWE dominated mainstream wrestling, leaving little room for alternative opportunities. Left with no choice, Dawn Marie filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, alleging wrongful termination. When news of the lawsuit reached Vince McMahon, he acted swiftly to avoid a PR disaster. WWE reportedly reached an out-of-court settlement with Dawn Marie, ensuring the details remained sealed. While the settlement amount has never been disclosed, it was likely substantial enough to keep her silent. Dawn Marie left the wrestling world altogether and now works as a nurse. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon managed to sweep the scandal under the rug, preserving WWE's reputation, at least for a while. One of WWE's most controversial stories involves the late Jimmy "Superfly" Snuka, a wrestler who was both a pioneer and a polarizing figure. Known for his electrifying high-flying moves, Snuka became a sensation in the 1970s and early 1980s, even headlining some of the earliest WWE events. However, his legacy is forever overshadowed by allegations of domestic abuse and murder. In 1983, Snuka's girlfriend, Nancy Argentino, was found dead under mysterious circumstances. After a wrestling event in Pennsylvania, Snuka reportedly called for an ambulance, claiming Nancy had fallen and hit her head. However, the autopsy told a different story. Nancy had suffered multiple traumatic injuries to her head and body, consistent with repeated blows. The coroner deemed the case a homicide. Despite the overwhelming evidence and Snuka's history of domestic violence, no charges were filed at the time. Why? According to Snuka's own memoirs, Vince McMahon intervened. Snuka claimed McMahon met privately with law enforcement officials, allegedly bringing a briefcase to the meeting. What happened during that meeting remains unclear, but soon after, the case was closed without charges. Years later, in 2015, the case was reopened, and Snuka was charged with third-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter. However, he was declared unfit to stand trial due to health issues and passed away in 2017, never facing justice. The incident remains a glaring stain on WWE's history, with many questioning how much Vince McMahon knew and covered up. John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, is celebrated as one of WWE's most decorated champions, but his reputation outside the ring is far less glamorous. Known for his backstage antics, JBL has been accused of bullying numerous wrestlers and colleagues during his tenure with WWE. JBL's bullying ranged from verbal insults to physical intimidation. One infamous incident involved Blue Meanie, a wrestler who spoke out about JBL's behavior in interviews. During the 2005 ECW One Night Stand event, JBL allegedly targeted Blue Meanie, assaulting him in the ring and leaving him bloodied. JBL later claimed it was retribution for Mina's comments. Another victim was Mauro Ranallo, a beloved WWE announcer known for his passion and professionalism. Ronaldo, who has bipolar disorder, reportedly left WWE due to relentless bullying from JBL. Despite the allegations, WWE took no action against JBL, even inducting him into their Hall of Fame. When asked about his behavior, JBL showed no remorse, famously saying, "Cry me a river, snowflake." Vince McMahon not only ignored the allegations but rewarded JBL with continued roles in WWE. Steve Austin is one of WWE's most iconic figures, but his personal life has been marred by allegations of domestic violence. In 2002, Austin's then-wife, Deborah McMichael, called police after an alleged assault. When authorities arrived, Deborah had visible injuries, but Austin had fled the scene. He later turned himself in, pleaded no contest, and was fined and placed on probation. Despite the severity of the allegations, WWE chose to stand by Austin. Deborah later alleged that Austin's actions were fueled by steroids and alcohol, further complicating the narrative. While Austin's wrestling legacy remains intact, this dark chapter has been largely erased from WWE's official history. The fabulous Moolah is often celebrated as one of the pioneers of women's wrestling. As the first woman inducted into WWE's Hall of Fame and a multi-time women's champion, her influence on the sport cannot be denied. However, behind the glitz and glamour, allegations surfaced that painted a much darker picture of her career and personal conduct. Moolah, real name Mary Lillian Ellison, was accused of exploiting and abusing young female wrestlers who trained under her. Former trainees like Mad Maxine and Wendy Richter claimed that Moolah operated more like a tyrant than a mentor. It was alleged that she took significant portions of her trainees' earnings, leaving them financially unstable despite their hard work in the ring. Even more disturbing were accusations that Moolah facilitated the exploitation of her trainees. Reports alleged that she arranged for young women to engage in non-consensual activities with wrestling promoters or other influential figures in the industry. Wrestlers who refused to comply reportedly faced blacklisting or career-ending retaliation. While WWE initially celebrated Moolah's legacy, naming events and awards after her, public outcry over these allegations forced the company to backtrack. In 2018, the fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal was renamed after fans and advocacy groups protested. Despite this, Vince McMahon and WWE have never fully acknowledged the seriousness of these allegations, leaving Moolah's controversial legacy largely unaddressed. One of the darkest chapters in WWE history revolves around Chris Benoit, a highly respected wrestler whose shocking actions in 2007 left the wrestling world reeling. Over a 3-day period, Benoit murdered his wife, Nancy, and their young son, Daniel, before taking his own life. The double murder-suicide sent shockwaves through the industry, leaving fans and colleagues struggling to reconcile the man they admired with the horrific crime. While the tragedy itself is widely known, what many fans don't realize is how much WWE may have known about Benoit's deteriorating mental state. In 2003, 4 years before the tragedy, Nancy Benoit reportedly attempted to divorce Chris, citing his violent temper and unpredictable behavior. Friends and family later claimed that Benoit showed clear signs of mental instability, possibly exacerbated by repeated head injuries and substance abuse. Rather than addressing these issues, Vince McMahon and WWE allegedly worked to keep Benoit's struggles under wraps. Nancy's attempt to divorce Chris was reportedly discouraged, with WWE executives pressuring her to maintain the marriage to preserve Benoit's on-screen persona. In the aftermath of the tragedy, WWE distanced itself from Benoit, removing all references to him from their programming and website. While the company shifted blame to factors like chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, many fans and critics argue that WWE's culture of secrecy and exploitation contributed to the tragedy. In the early 1990s, WWE faced one of its biggest scandals when Dr. George Zahorian, a ringside physician, was convicted of distributing anabolic steroids to wrestlers. The investigation revealed that steroid use was rampant among WWE superstars, with household names like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior implicated. The scandal reached its peak in 1994, when Vince McMahon himself was charged with conspiracy to distribute steroids. During the trial, Hogan testified that he had used steroids supplied by Zahorian, further damaging WWE's reputation. Despite the damning testimony, McMahon was acquitted due to lack of evidence. While WWE implemented a drug testing policy following the trial, the issue resurfaced in 2007 after the Chris Benoit tragedy. An investigation into Benoit's death revealed that several WWE wrestlers, including Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton, were still using performance-enhancing drugs obtained through illegal means. Rather than publicly addressing the issue, WWE quietly suspended some wrestlers and terminated others, ensuring that the scandal didn't escalate further. Vince McMahon himself has been at the center of numerous scandals, particularly involving allegations of sexual misconduct. In 1992, a female referee accused McMahon of assaulting her in a limousine. While McMahon denied the allegations, the case was eventually settled out of court, leading many to speculate about the veracity of the claims. In 2006, McMahon faced another lawsuit when a tanning salon employee accused him of unwanted advances. The case was later dismissed, but it added to the growing perception of McMahon as a controversial and polarizing figure. In 2022, the Wall Street Journal reported that McMahon had paid millions of dollars in hush money to multiple women to cover up allegations of misconduct. The revelations led to McMahon stepping down as WWE CEO, although he later returned to the company in a reduced capacity. Despite the gravity of these allegations, WWE has largely avoided addressing them publicly, instead focusing on McMahon's contributions to the industry. For decades, WWE has been synonymous with drama, spectacle, and larger-than-life characters. However, the company's history is also riddled with controversies and cover-ups that reveal a much darker side of the industry. From allegations of abuse and exploitation to criminal behavior swept under the rug, WWE has often prioritized its brand image over accountability. While fans continue to celebrate the athleticism and entertainment value of professional wrestling, these stories serve as a reminder that the industry's glittering exterior often hides a far more complex and troubling reality. If you'd like me to expand further or add more hidden stories about WWE, let me know. Thank you for watching this video to the end. We would like to ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, to stay up to date with all the latest events, click on the bell so you will not miss the next news releases.